Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is BC. Welcome back to another episode of Supreme Being. We are back. First and foremost, shout out to all the support. You guys, make sure you check out all the links below on all my social media platforms. You have the new website to check everything out that we have to offer and also get on the email list, which will get you your free bonus. Those of you really looking to step up and get additional support and help and guidance, schedule your free strategy call. Check out our Discord. And also the real estate agents, you can check out our opportunity with eXp Realty with the icon ninjas below as well. Okay. So today I went out with the Miami squad and I did some door to door with them for about an hour and a half or 2 hours. I was able to get in, 20, 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more with each member, and critique stuff, jump in when I had to. And it was cool. And I wanted to come and talk about this process from many angles, from the teaching angle, from the referencing the basics angle, from redoing things, revisiting things as you level up continuously to kind of not only give you a gauge of where you're at, but also give you a different perspective on these things. So one thing people have to understand is, if you're listening to me and you haven't been around since the beginning, if you didn't know, the door-to-door and cold calling, which I've been preaching to salespeople for years, I did it pretty much nonstop, like 6-7 days a week for probably my first 3 to 4 years. We'll say 3 for sure. After that, it was still a couple more years, maybe not like 6-7 days a week, but it was still 4 or 5 days a week and still at a relatively high level. But those first 3 or 4 years were extremely like hardcore, we can say. Okay. And when you first start, obviously you're a rookie, you're a novice, you don't know anything. You're studying, you're consuming as much material, reading, events, coaching, and all that you can in order to get better. And you're getting your reps in, right? And that's like the toughest part and also the most beautiful part of the process, I will say, because you learn so much about yourself, you develop so much. And again, you have your expectations of what you think is going to happen, what the results are going to be, but you won't really know until you do them for a long time. Then as you start developing, you start hitting a couple segues. You now start enjoying it more, right? You now start getting better results. The conversations are better, right? You now get hope because maybe you've closed a few deals or transactions and you're thinking, hey, this is going good now. I'm actually making money. I'm seeing success, right? Then as you, like, let's say you're working for a company or at whatever capacity you're going door to door and cold calling. Now maybe you hire people to work with you and now you're teaching them. So now you're still doing the activity, but you're teaching, right? Then later on, right, the roles flip. Now the primary people are going to be your team members going door to door, and you might come out once a week or whatever to help them and coach them, right? So there's going to be many levels to this game. And every time you come back to that basic activity of, let's say, going door to door or calling, right, you're coming back from a different position and a different perspective because now you've developed, you've grown, you have more skills, and the game has changed to a degree, right? So there's a lot to be said. Speaking from my experience today, man, incredible to get out there and go through those couple interactions. Because, if I'm doing 20, 30, 40 minutes with each one, I maybe listen to 5, 6, 7 conversations from each agent. And it's cool because you see what you've taught them, you see what they're doing right, you see what they could be doing better. And you come at it from a different perspective from many angles. So first is this. When you first go door to door and you make cold calls, right? And this could be applied to anything. I'm just giving you guys this reference because that's what we did today, right? When you first do that stuff, man, it's scary. You don't know what's going to happen. You've heard these horror stories. You're already expecting, man, this is going to be like the most intense, negative. People are going to like pull their guns out. People are going to yell at me. It's going to be like really hardcore. Then you actually start doing it. And again, whatever your expectation was, whichever end of extreme, it ends up not being what actually happened. And the beautiful part is that's one of the main things about experience and taking the action and doing it consistently that will help you in your success in life and everything that you do. Nothing replaces the real life experience because then you get the real story of what it is, not what somebody told you, not what you think it is, right? You get the real story. You get the real thing. Right? Now you can speak and understand from a position of real experience and things actually having happened, not the fantasy in your head or the bullshit that people peddle and talk to people about and share all the time. Right? And this is the key. ladies and gentlemen, right? That's one of those foundational principles that you really have to get down. Okay. That's number one. Another thing is I noticed for myself, being able to look back, 10 years in the very beginning, a couple years ago, 2 years into the game, 5 years into the game, 7 years into the game, just the experience of like going door to door. It would be nerve wracking in the beginning. I would have to like fire myself up to do it, right? Like so many other things would go through my head. And this time I just showed up. I was able to assess situations, jump in at any point, and then insert lines, save the interaction if I felt, step back, right? I felt so hyper aware and comfortable and in control of every situation. I literally just stood there for moments sometimes and relished it. And I was like, man, this is cool. But at the same time, I've earned this position of being able to do this. But again, you will have to have gone through what I went through and the experience and knocked on those, I don't know, like over 100,000 doors or whatever that I knocked on in order to get to that position where you understand where I'm coming from. But to be able to do an activity like that scares the average person to death, and not only do it whenever I want, but do it comfortably and at a high level, that is a skill that makes you irreplaceable. This is why I know when I teach people who come to my events, who are on my coaching, they're getting something that's priceless, or at the very least, that very few people can match on this planet, because I've done stuff in certain areas and taken actions and done them for so long and studied these things so deeply that who else is going to have that perspective unless they've walked that path? There's a unique angle here and experience. So to be able to be in a moment like today for those 2 hours, which by the way flew by, it's pretty cool. Because I remember what it was like to be new and be scared and be sitting there in your car, or sitting at the desk, like about to make calls and be nervous about it. And, oh man, I don't want to do it. I remember that because I still get those questions and comments to this day. I remember that. But let me tell you, being on this side is so worth it. All the heartache, all the challenges, all the BS you got to deal with, all the naysayers. I can tell you wholeheartedly, it is worth it. Right? And this isn't just about money. So what also happens in this process is you get to revisit some of these basic principles. So one thing I've always told people is you got to go back and brush up on your basics, your fundamentals, and whatever it is that you do all the time, right? It needs to be a regular thing, because first and foremost, anybody can be forgetful or get rusty if they're not referencing something all the time, right? Like we think we got it, but again, you're not perfect, nor am I, nor is anybody. So we have to do it, if anything, just to keep things fresh in our mind, right? But number two, as you develop and you grow, when you revisit a book, when you revisit a subject, when you revisit particular knowledge or datums, you're now revisiting that subject from a different position. You now are more capable, more intelligent, more skilled. Long story short, you're a different person reading, revisiting, accessing, learning that same information. Therefore, you will get something new from it. You will understand it from a different perspective. And I guarantee you it will be well worth your time, aside from just brushing up on the basics, right? You will learn something new. I frequently will reread a book a second and a third time. And man, I never once have finished that book, the second or third time, and been like, well, that was a waste of time. I'm like, dude, I got something new from it that I didn't even realize. I remember listening to certain people lecture about subjects like, neuro-linguistic programming or hypnosis. And in the beginning, I'm like, I don't even like listening to this guy. He's boring. But as I got better, you know what I realized? He's not boring. He's just speaking at such a level and giving information that was going and flying right over my head. I had no idea the potency of what this person was saying, which I truly believe is the case with me too. It's one thing to listen to my YouTube videos when you're at a particular level, but when you come to the lectures and you listen, the more capable and intelligent you are, and the more you know and the more experience you've gathered, you'll get even more from them, because you'll be able to understand them at a deeper level, right? And I've been on the other side of that coin too. And let me tell you, man, was I mistaken. Jeez. So now a book that I thought was very elementary, I can go back and read and get such rich information from it and concepts. It's incredible. But what's changed? The book hasn't changed. The words haven't changed. I've changed. I've gotten better. This is why later when you change, you can go back around the same people that are like, whoa, you're a different person. Exactly. I evolved. I grew. And it's cool because sometimes you need to be able to get that reference, whether it's from people or whether it's from going back and doing some of those activities that you did before, and being able to take a moment and say, dang, I remember when this was arduous and difficult and I had no idea what was going on. Now, like as an example, if we're talking about the door knocking, I feel like it's in slow motion. I feel like I can literally break rules and do whatever I want and still get the result. I can pick up on the most nuanced things. I can adjust immediately. I can understand 20 things happening at the same. It's cool. But I've been able to reach that level by doing it so many times and studying and doing it again and studying and learning and getting better and obsessing about it. But man, is it cool. And you got to revisit those basics, dude. You really do. You really do. And that's why I love taking moments and doing things like I did today, because man, it's incredible. Did I have to go out and door knock with my team? No, but I'm doing it for them and for me. Right? They wanted me to do it with them? Sure. Why not? I got to jump in when I got to jump in, and then I can really, analyze you guys and give you some feedback, some real life feedback, in the moment, not you coming back and giving me a field report. I'm there with you in the trenches, and I'm listening, and I'm giving feedback, and I'm talking, and I'm assessing the situation and what's going on. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So again, there's going to be different levels of individuals listening to this. If you're still brand new, fantastic. So this is something you can put in your notebook to do later and say, even when I think I've mastered something, I have to go back and revisit it, right? But the main point you have to get from what I said here in the beginning, also, the second part is this. And pay very close attention to it, because it's very important. Find these moments that have these reference points to be able to gauge how much you've evolved and grown, right? Because a lot of times I notice people do not give themselves any credit, man, at all. Even if you haven't gotten the result that you want, you've still gotten better and you've grown. Give yourself a break and give yourself some acknowledgement. Just like you have to be your biggest critic, you also have to be your biggest fan. And there's nothing wrong with that. For many years, I was my only fan. And I don't mean in a reference to OnlyFans, right? Fuck OnlyFans. I'm talking about I was my only cheerleader, my only fan, my only supporter. I know what it's like to not have support. And let me tell you, it sucks. But if you're beating yourself up all the time and you never take the moments and the time to give yourself some credit, do it now. Do it now. That will breed more longevity in you than virtually almost anything else. How do I know? From experience, believe me. Okay. I'm a very harsh critic with myself, but I've learned to be also my biggest fan. All right. So the first person, great. Give yourself some credit. Now, if you're listening to this and you are a little bit more intermediate, advanced, you're growing, then this is a time for you to check back up on some of those basics and some of these things that you're working, and make sure that you make it a regularly scheduled thing to do it often. That way you can revisit some of these concepts, give yourself these reference points, but also take something new. You may revisit an old fundamental concept and actually discover something that you previously did not discover. Right? That's going to happen. It happens with me all the time. I remember looking at some of those basic concepts like mirroring and matching matching people's rate of speech and, all of that. And just, oh yeah, I know that stuff. And then going back and saying, there's something more nuanced in it now, right? Even catching somebody's rhythm. It's not just the speed. How about the flow of their speech, right? Do they tend to get excited when they talk about other things or certain things? And when does their tone shift? And when does their mood shift? And you start looking at it in a more nuanced way. But when you're a beginner, all that stuff seems overwhelming at the beginning and you won't even understand that. That'll be unlocked at a later level. Right? But when you revisit it the second time, okay, now this is something that you can work with because you're capable to work at that level now, if that makes sense. Right? So had a lot of fun today. Learned a lot. You got to revisit the basics. And man, more than anything, it's incredible to see, also when you're teaching people, to see them, even if they don't have it down 100%, to see a lot of the stuff that you instilled in them. Because not only do you see yourselves in them, these little tips and tricks and skills and techniques that you give them, to see them in action live and then see them work is really cool. Because what to them, and this is the beauty in it, right? This is just a technique to them that I gave them that they know works. They don't know that I had to fail, retest, fail at that task to figure out that little technique that I gave them, maybe for hours and hours and hours, or weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months, to create that, to be resourceful enough and creative enough in my mind to create these things that I'm giving them. They have no idea. So what is a technique in a book or a technique that I gave them? You don't know the source. So that allows you to step back and view these things with even more respect, because you don't know what happened in that time, right? All you see are words on the, the screen, or, you hear them, right? If you watch video, or they're in a book and you read them, but you don't know what it took to create that skill or what it took to discover it, which makes your mind kind of wonder a little bit, wow, how much have I maybe underappreciated? This also will make you a lot more thankful and grateful for the people who are, giving you game, right? Which is why it blows my mind how entitled people have become, to where they think they just deserve all this information for free. It's nuts, man. God damn. No gratitude at all. Just gimme, 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 gimme. It's pretty nuts, man. Not everybody, right? Not everybody. But I do see it pretty often. It's sad, at least in my industry. So stick to the basics, revisit them, build your skills, become a better leader, right? Understand these things, give yourself some credit. And that kind of sums up what I wanted to talk about today. I may end up doing a YouTube video on this too, but it was really cool. I took a few clips, and I really believe that, there's a lot to be learned here. And we're never too good to revisit the fundamentals and make sure that we stay sharp. All right. So that's it for this one, guys. Get on the email list, get your free bonus, schedule your free strategy call. Those of you looking for more support and help to build whatever it is that you want to build, check out our Discord. And also, real estate agents, check us out. eXp Realty, Icon Ninjas. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.